Welcome to another tutorial on Modbus Server Pro. In this tutorial we're specifically looking at the possible exceptions that can occur. For exceptions in Modbus Server we have got our little exceptions window here. In this window we can configure how the Modbus server responds under normal circumstances with everything unticked in here. We start our requests and we can see the value of 56 from register 4 is getting across to our Modbus client. So we're using Modbus client here just to illustrate the functions. Now we can do a number of things over here. We've got 3 different sections in this area, 4 different sections to be precise. This Modbus exception configuration is implemented from version 3.90 onwards. The first area we've got here is a Modbus exception, where we can simulate a Modbus exception. In a Modbus exception, the server replies and responds to the client, but instead of responding with the data value like what we've got here, it'll respond with a particular exception. Then we've got something which is called an exception status. Modbus function 7 is a request of the exception status. When Modbus function 7 is executed, the reply from the Modbus server will contain this number, which is the Modbus exception status. Then there's some other possibilities in the Modbus server when things are not going well, which is a response delay. So we've got a response delay, which means the request from the Modbus client, there will be a delay before the server responds to it. And then we've also got a force retry, where we can force the client to retry before we respond. So that means no response from the Modbus server should cause the client to try again. And that's the configuration here, which is the force retry. So let's just have a look and see how these functions actually work. We'll start the request here. So now we're requesting data. Let's have a look if we tick the Modbus exception response. The next request, the server receives responds with an illegal data value. Now I've got the ability here to adjust what type of response we want. So if I put that to illegal function, then we can see it responds with an illegal function. So that's a very, very simple way of simulating a failure. When I untick this box, then the response goes back to being quite normal. Now, the other thing that we can do is we can actually, instead of predetermining what type of failure we've got, what type of exception we have, we can go and select random in here. So with random, you will notice now there's an illegal function, there's an illegal data address, there's a server device failure. This is useful for a test for the client to make sure the client can handle various different exceptions in sequence. So they're just purely random the way they're generated. Now if I turn the random off, we're going back to sending out device failure. Now the other thing that we can do here is we can determine at the moment every reply is an exception. So every time there's a request coming through, we reply, the server replies with this particular exception. But rather than making it reply every time, I can set a different rate. So if I put a rate of 1 in 2, for example, which is a 50% rate, you can see it's just replied with the data value and it is not every second time. There's a randomness to it, but overall it'll be about 50% of the replies that are reporting the device failure. So you can see sometimes it reports the value, sometimes it reports the device failure. That's a rate of 1 in 2. If I make that a rate of 1 in 5, then most of the replies on average, after running for many hundreds of cycles, 1 in 5 replies should be an error reply or a failure reply. Now, bear in mind this is only on average, so this is still using random a random number. So if you run 1,000, you would see 1 in every 5 on average. So this is a good way of testing the server to receive random failure messages. All right, let's get switch that off again. So that's the Modbus exceptions, where the server actually does reply and we do get an exception. And then we've got the other option here, which is a response delay. So we can initiate the response delay. At the moment that's set to 500 milliseconds. Now you may have noticed it just stays lit for a little bit longer. And one of the other things we should do first, we should have a look and see in the configuration. We've got a transaction timeout here for 500 milliseconds, which is not so good. So if I put the transaction timeout at 1,000 milliseconds, then we can run the response delay again here, and we can just see how the that dot just stays on for that half second longer. Yeah. I'll lengthen that transaction timer just to make it really visible. And here we're going to put a delay in of 1,500 milliseconds, so that's 1.5 seconds. And you can just see that only it stays on for 1.5 seconds before it goes off. So clearly to distinguish and see the difference. This is what happens when there's no response delay. And here's what happens when we put about a 1.5 second delay in there. So naturally response delays may vary with different network loads and so forth. So I might just put that a little bit higher and make the transaction time at 3 seconds. And I can introduce a response delay which is a random delay. So I can set that to 500 milliseconds and I'll select random, and now we will get a random delay between 500 milliseconds and 2 seconds. So between half a second and a second, that delay is now going to be completely random. So we can test again what would happen in a network load variations when the network load goes up or down. So there's a response delay for you. And the response delay, just to recap, is either a random delay between this number and that number, or it's a fixed delay which is fixed by that number. Okay, and that's the response delay. Now the next one that we're going to try is a force retry. So force retry, what that does, it will allow the server to force a retry from the client. So therefore we'll set, and this is related to the transaction timeout, so we'll set that back to 500 milliseconds for the transaction timeout on the server, which is fine while we've got no delay. So now I can do a force retry here, and this is set to try 3 times before it abandons. So if we do that, force retry, and you can see there's a it flickers a few times. You can also see the numbers up here a few times, because within 500 milliseconds it does 2 retries, and then on the third one it actually gets a proper reply and gets that. Now There's another parameter which needs just a little bit of explanation as a timeout parameter here. That timeout parameter is a timeout parameter which needs to be set larger than the timeout that is set here. And it's got to do if the server doesn't reply. So let's say we set this for a retry of 5 times, but the server will only retry 3 times. Then eventually this one needs to time out, so it knows that the next request is a fresh request rather than a request that is just a delayed one. Now, if we go to that and we'll set that extremely long, we'll make that a 10-second cycle, and we're going to make the transaction timeout here. We're going to make that timeout, make that a second. We're going to make that timeout here 3 seconds. So now we can see the same thing again. It just happens a lot slower. It happens with a second in between each. We might even lengthen that to 2 seconds, so it becomes even better visible. So here we go. We've got a timeout, another timeout, and then a reply. So, and we can change how often the retry occurs. We can change that here, and we can change it so that it makes it retry once. So that's a very good way of testing your client to find out if it can handle retries. Now, the other option that we have is we can actually make the number of retries. I'll just turn that off for a moment so we can see when there's no retries, how it works. There's another option that we have where we can make the retry in numbers a random number. So I might make this between 1 and 3 retries. I might just put that on 4 to make sure it does get the number. So now we've got a random number of retries. So the server will now, anywhere between 1 and 3 retries, it'll ask the client to, or it won't ask it, but it just will not respond until the client has retried between 1 and 3 times. So there we go. That's 3 different options for exploring exceptions and to see how your client responds to it. It's a little bit complex to understand all those different settings, but if you study Modbus, you'll certainly realize the value of that when it comes to testing your Modbus client or your client interface. Now, thank you very much for watching another tutorial. I hope you are going to find this useful. Thank you.